This is the last bronze Adamascus watch that's coming out of Thailand, period. Now, I've been a big fan of this micro brand for many years. They were established about 15 years ago and they seem to mature into producing consistent quality watches in the micro brand world. Now this is the last time that Wise will be making the bronze Adamascus, and I think the colour palette that they chose for this, in this deep dark fume green dial and bronze accents, could not be more on point. Now this is not going to be a long video guys, and this is not a new watch, but being their last one that they're making in bronze, I actually wanted to get it on the channel and show you guys, because I think what they've chosen in colour, they've seemed to have ironed out pretty much all of the flaws. There are still one or two niggles which I want to share, but overall a real looker. Let's check it out. Now for those of you who saw my microbrand watch box collection, I have two watch boxes, one filled with 8 major brands and one with 8 micro brands. Now in the microbrand watch box, I had a black PVD coated Wise Adamascus, and I say had because one of my viewers requested that piece off me. So I sent the watch off to the States, and now it's found some comfort and excellent wrist time with this viewer. Now the reason the viewer asked me if I wanted to part with that watch is because he tried to buy one and he couldn't find it anywhere online. That model was released as a limited release and it sold out, and now he had to look pre-owned. And my honest opinion on limited release watches that are easy to manufacture, if you produce a particular watch that's desirable, don't put a limit on it. Just churn them out as the demand requires. It's my honest opinion guys. Now I'm not talking about handmade and hand-finished watches from high-end manufacturers that make 10 watches a year. I'm talking about stuff like this. Nonetheless, you saw the pop-up. Wise has sponsored this video. I don't have to send this watch back, so I will of course leave a link in the description section if you guys want to check it out. Now all that said, unfortunately this piece is also limited to 333 pieces. Well, make it 332 because I really like the look of this one, and it's going to go in that microbrand watch box to replace the black DLC they just left. Now I've actually had this watch in my possession since late November, and I've only now had the opportunity to record the review. We're in January. I actually wanted to see how this watch case patinas. So the initial footage you're seeing in this video, the B-roll footage, I actually shot that mid-November when the watch came in. So now that this watch has been in rotation on my wrist for the last couple of months, this is what it looks like today. As you can see, it's darkened up in areas, it's got some beautiful patina setting in. It's exactly what I wanted to see happen, and it's happening at a very nice rate. So it's not bright anymore, it's not in your face, and I think when this fully darkens and oxidizes to develop a nice moody look, it's going to marry up beautifully with that dark green dial and bezel. The specifications on this watch, the physical dimensions and its movement have not changed. Now I measure a case diameter of 41 with a lug-to-lug of 47.5. That case height of 11.8 allows this watch to wear beautifully on the wrist. Now that crown is a 6.5mm signed screw-down crown. The watch offers 200 meters of water resistance, and the watch is supplied with 2 straps, one leather and one FKM rubber. And on this FKM rubber it comes in at exactly 95 grams. The longer I seem to wear this watch, the better it seems to look. It is such a nice moody look. That green, they nailed it. They really did. I just love the tonality, the way that fume dial and that granular texture just works. And the depth of that green bezel is also beautiful. Now nothing new here guys, the height is superb, the wearing experience on this FKM rubber strap, again, absolutely beautiful. So there's so much going in comfort and wearability with the AD8 models, and this one here is no exception. The crystal on this watch is a boxed sapphire crystal with inner AR coating. It's slightly pronounced as you can see, creates that vintage vibe. I've had zero legibility issues, and I think it suits the aesthetics of the watch really well. Now if I turn the watch over, you can see there's a stainless steel case back, and behind that case back you've got the Miyota 9039, proper no-date automatic, 28,800 vibrations per hour and around 42 hours of power reserve. And in my experience with all the Wise watches I've reviewed on the channel, they seem to be nicely regulated, and this one is coming in at about +4 seconds per day. But the real hero of this watch for me is the tonality, the colours, what they've done on that dial. It's a green fume dial, it's got a beautiful granular texture as I said, it's really spot on here. The colour is deep, it's rich, and it matches that bezel perfectly to create a really warm, inviting mood. And speaking of that bezel, it's a dark green ceramic insert, lume filled, it's 120 click unidirectional, and the resistance is really, really good. So check this out. Nice and easy to turn. It's spring loaded, so if you notice, when you let go, it pops back into place. Very slightly. There's no back play, and it seems to line up spot on. Now before I touch on any gripes, let's check out that lume. And I think this is another department which they've done well, because the watch features light old radium X1 superluminova. I think this is an area where Wise seems to nail it day in, day out. They have some fantastic lume, and this is no exception. Now that said, what are my gripes of this watch? Well, first and foremost, this is limited to 333 pieces. And that's always going to be an issue, whether it's a micro brand, whether it's a major brand, marketing jargon or hype, whatever the case. I think making watches limited really is not a necessity. If it's a popular model, just let the people buy it. And when it starts to lose traction, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the track, just stop producing it. Real simple. Second gripe for me might be the price. This comes in at $689 US. Now, that said, it's not inexpensive. But I've got to say the quality, the tolerances of these Adamascus models has always been superb. And speaking of tolerances, one of my gripes has always been the bezel, the stiffness of the bezel. It's been a hit and miss on the 88 model, for me. And this one here has been spot on. I have received a few of these 88s in the past that were way too stiff, just too hard to turn. And even after a month or two of using them, they didn't loosen up enough to satisfy me. This one seems to be spot on straight out the gate. And that's pretty much it, guys, because it's a great looking watch, superb lume. The physical dimensions make this watch sit beautifully on the wrist. And I laugh because the last time I made mention that a watch sits well on the wrist, one of you guys, a viewer, basically left a comment and they said, "Where else would you wear the watch? On your ankle?" I don't see any reason why not. Whatever works for you guys. But I hope you enjoyed that, guys. The last ever bronze Adamascus from Wise. It's a doozer. It's a very nice looking watch with pretty much all the niggles ironed out. But just the tones that are coming off this piece, from that lume to that dial to that bezel to the case, they seem to work really well. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the watch that's currently on your wrist. Enjoy this hobby, and we'll see you in the next one.